Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. Um, we're like halfway through December almost. Can you believe it? Holy moly. You can see behind me, this has become Christmas present central. Uh, which is funny because Travis's office, my husband, his office has way more boxes. So I think I just have, I don't know, his Christmas presents and some other stuff. He has everything else. So it's crazy. Probably should wrap them and put them under the tree, right? Whatever. So happy Thursday. Welcome to those of you who do not know me. I am Bree Beers. I own Bree Beers and Associates. I've been an accountant for about 20 years. Bree Beers and Associates is an accounting firm. We're in our 7th year, I believe, as a tax prep and planning tax firm, specializing in small business and more complex individual tax returns. I'm also the founder of Peak Prosperity CFO. We are a fractional CFO service working with 7-figure women, mostly women business owners, and with the goal of boosting their annual compensation by $100,000 in their first year of working with us through profit-centered thought leadership. And so really what we do is we work with 7-figure business owners who are feeling stuck and wanting more work-life balance and more money in their personal bank accounts. So today for those of you that are new, we are in part 4 of our wealth model. So if you are new and this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. However many videos ago, I introduced my wealth model, which is the model that I use with my CFO clients to help them turn their business into one that works for them instead of the other way around. And each week we've been diving into each of these 6 steps. So today is the 4th step, and it's L, and it's called lean on your numbers. So I know if any of you are like me, and I know you are because I talk to so many business owners, and we avoid our financials, right? It might be because we don't know what they're telling us. They don't know what they're saying. It may be because we don't really know how to use them in our business. Like, okay, great. I have this balance sheet. I have this P&L, and I see, okay, I know how to read it, but I don't really know how to use it as a tool to grow and scale my business, right? So we avoid our financials, right? And for so many of us, it may or may not be an intentional action, right? Some of us just don't think about it. Right? We don't think about the ability to use our financial statements and our financial data as a tool to make important decisions in our business. So that was me. For the first 5 years of my entrepreneurial journey, I avoided my financials. So for me, it was like when things were good, I didn't need them, right? I didn't think I needed them. I was like, I have money, we're good. What can it tell me? Which is funny, right? Because I'm an accountant. I should know better. But I think it wasn't an intentional, oh, I'm too smart for this. It was more I have other things I've got to do, right? It's I've got to bust out these tax returns. I've got to manage my team. I had these things I built, I thought were a bigger priority than actually looking at my financials and using that data to help my business grow and scale. And on the flip side of that, when things were bad, I didn't want to, right? If things were rough or we were in a tough time, I'm like, I know things are tough and I know the goal is we need to just get more money in the door. So what good is looking at my financials going to do? But I've learned a lot, right? First of all, I've learned that I already knew that wasn't the right answer, right? I was kind of rationalizing or justifying not looking at my financials. And I think we all do that, right? Whether we're in a good season or a bad season, we kind of convince ourselves that it's not an important part of our business, or it's not an important thing to look at, or it can't help us. But it is, and our financials can tell us so much, and we'll talk about that. But for me, what I did is there were a few things I did to finally just put looking at my money into my normal process, right? So I now have Money Mondays. Every single week, I start my week off and I look at my financials, and I have a little checklist. I created a money checklist, which I think I'm going to make into make it pretty and put it out for you guys. But I have this checklist and I go through it every Monday. And it's look at my bank balance, look at my credit card balance, just and just that, you guys just looking this is how much cash I have. This is those two things in themselves are very powerful just to become okay with that being part of your normal doing, right? So I look at my bank statement or my bank balance. I look at my credit card balance, and I have a cash flow forecast that shows me all the stuff coming out in the next week, the next month, the next couple months, right? I think I do it in 3-month increments. And a 3-month rolling cash flow forecast. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, so I know how much cash I have in the bank. I see what is coming up, what money's coming in, what money's going out. So I can kind of see what direction we're going, right? And I do look at my P&L and my balance sheet. That's not a daily thing. I have monthly tasks that I do, and so I will definitely create that. Now that I'm thinking about that, I will create that task list for you guys because I think that'd be very helpful for you. And how this helped me is because I'm not just looking at my money when we're struggling, right? It's a weekly habit that I do. And it also, guys, truth be told, since I've started doing this on a weekly basis, which I mean, it's only been just over a year that I've actually been doing this, but money troubles haven't happened. That, like, because I now do this, I can see when we're kind of slowing down or when we might be coming up on where we're tight on cash, and so I can maneuver around it and work with it. All right, so having these money Mondays has been key for me. I also hired a bookkeeper because it's one less step for me to avoid, right? I don't have to avoid going in and matching transactions and reconciling. I have someone do that for me. And I actually use my own CFO workbook, the CFO framework that I use with all my clients, I now use within my own business. Some of this, you guys are probably like, who are you? Like, you're an accountant and you haven't been dealing with your own finances. And it's real, you guys, it's real. Just like you guys get caught up in serving your clients and in the work or if you're building the business, right? Or you get kind of pulled into the marketing or the growth. For all of us, the financial piece tends to get thrown to the side, even accountants. And there's some really good accountants out there that are like, I would never, but I do, I take care of my clients and I do their work. And then mine used to tend to fall to the wayside, but not anymore. So now I use my own CFO workbook with my business as well. And so with my clients, knowing your numbers can help you decide how and when to spend money, right? And that's what I do for my clients. We also are able to identify different revenue streams and figure out which ones are actually successful and which ones might be struggling. So an example of that, I have a client, right? And they have multiple, they make burritos, they make sandwiches, they're food manufacturing, or we call it manufacturing, but they assemble food, right? So they have a burrito segment, they have a sandwich segment, they have a couple other kind of one-off small segments, but we are able, what we're doing now is segmenting and figuring, okay, these burritos, this is how much money they're making, this is how much money they cost. So here's the actual profit margins on your burritos. And they're really good. You guys are making a ton of money on these burritos. Sandwiches, not so well, not struggling, not to a place where like, do we need to pull the plug on sandwiches? But like, okay, like they don't have quite the profit margin. So we can figure out, okay, is that something we can fix? Do we want to just kind of keep our sandwich business running on cruise control and really focus on building and growing that burrito business? So we can have those conversations, but we wouldn't know that if we didn't break down those different revenue streams to figure out what's making how much money. All right, so that's something I'm able to help with my clients do. And a lot of, every week we talk about old world versus new world thinking. And in the old world, you guys, only large corporations could afford the services of a CFO, and only large corporations could really get that benefit, right? And in this new world, we have these fractional CFO services, whether it's me or, they're popping up everywhere, okay? Fractional CFO services are just, it's a growing industry, and it's bringing that one-on-one CFO service to smaller companies. AI is also making that possible to create these CFO systems and even smaller and newer businesses. So, CFOs used to be they still are, but like full-time positions at these multi-million, 8-figure companies. And because a CFO on staff is going to cost you high 6 figures, not high 6 figures, like over 6 figures, right? I have a friend that used to be a CFO for Coca-Cola and or Schmoca-Cola, and she raked in the dough. All right, and they make money, but they also work hard for it, right? Because those companies are so big, that they need one person dedicating their full job and even oftentimes a team to that. As our businesses get smaller, we don't need quite that much, right? And so this fractional CFO segment that's popped up has been really good. But the thing is, business owners just don't know what it means. They don't know what it is. And so I'm trying to help you guys kind of understand, because even if it's not with me, right? Like, I work with 7-figure business owners, but if you're not there, there's a CFO out there that can help you where you're at. I promise you, they're popping up everywhere. We'll talk about that in a future episode, because that's not what today's about. Today's about your numbers. So let's jump into that. All right. So what does it mean to lean into your numbers or lean on your numbers? All right. So we kind of review what we've gone through so far. Again, if this is your first video with me or your first time joining me, feel free to go back and watch the last few videos. But what we do, so the W is weighing your motivation and really figuring out your personal motivation that drives your business. E is evaluating your business goals. And what that is, in essence, is making sure your business goals are supporting those personal hopes, dreams, and aspirations. All right. The A is adjust your mindset. We talked last time, all about the abundance mindset that we need to have, especially in these times of uncertainty, that we're kind of these economic uncertain times. We tend to, like, really tighten up the reins and stop spending and actually cut a lot of things. And in some areas that's fine, but in some ways that's not a good idea. So having that abundance mindset is so important. So today we're talking about lean on your numbers. So first thing is, you have to look at your numbers. You have to look at them. All right. CEOs that are winning today are looking at their numbers on a regular basis. So what is a regular basis? Depends, honestly, on the size and company, but I would say monthly is good. If you're looking at your numbers monthly, you're on a really good start. I told you about my Money Mondays, where I look at my numbers on a very quick level weekly, but monthly is when I dive into my balance sheet, my P&L, really get into it and figure out where we're going. So monthly is a really good time frame, a really good, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Looking at your numbers monthly is a good place to be. All right. Any less, and there's a lot of stuff that can get away with you. Any more, and you might be kind of beating a dead horse, and you might kind of wear yourself out and be like, so CEOs are looking at their numbers monthly. And, we used to be able to get away without doing this, right? And some businesses have been able to get away with it because they've been so successful, right? They're growing, they're scaling, or they're cash flow positive, they're making revenue. They haven't had to think about it, right? But you guys, we are either in or entering, depending on who you're talking to, we are in this time of economic uncertainty. All right. We are in a time of economic uncertainty. And with economic uncertainty comes this uncertainty in our business, right? We don't know how these things are going to affect us. And so if we're not looking at our numbers, by the time we realize that we are being affected by these economic events, it's too late. All right. So we have to be looking at them on a regular basis. And also, the reason you want to look at your numbers on a regular basis is because by looking at your numbers on a regular basis, you're able to make decisions based on those numbers. I call those data-driven decisions, and we'll dive into what a data-driven decision is. But you have to know your numbers in order to make those kinds of decisions. All right. So what numbers do we want to look at? So there, we talk about profit, or, we talk about, profit, cash flow, all the different things, right? So I'm messing with names and kind of, what am I looking for? Thinking of things to call different things. So the triad of truth, my coach calls it the critical. He has 4, but the critical 3. But these 3 things, what numbers do you want to look at? 3 things you always want to look at: profit, cash flow, and revenue. And I do them in that order specifically. All right. Profit, cash flow, then revenue. All right. All of these numbers can be deciphered from your traditional financial statements, right? From your P&L and from your statement of cash flows. And so these 3 guys, profit, cash flow, and revenue, are the ones that are going to kind of tell you the direction your business is going and how it's doing. If you've been with me a while, you know that I've gotten on my diatribe about profit over revenue, right? Revenue is important, but if you focus on profit and growing your profit, your revenue will be where it needs to be, Okay, it'll grow as well. So profit, then cash flow, then revenue. And these all come from your financial statements now and your statement of cash flows. Those are the three statements you want to be looking at. And when you're looking at them, what you're looking for is really you want to see how every dollar spent is impacting the profit, the cash, and the revenue, right? How are all the dollars you're spending, how are all of your expenses impacting profit, cash, and revenue, right? How profitable is each line of business? If you have multiple lines of business, like I told you, I have my burrito, my sandwich, my food manufacturer. I like to go with t-shirt companies. If maybe you make you make cotton t-shirts and you make a tri-blend t-shirt, which one is more profitable and how profitable is it? If you're in construction, right? There's different jobs, different projects you can have. So figuring out the profitability of each line of business, right? Because we've talked about how you can have revenue, you can have tons of revenue in your business or from a specific revenue stream from a specific project, right? But that specific project or revenue stream might not be profitable, right? You might make $1 million in this area, but it might be losing 100 grand, right? Because it's costing more than it's generating. So knowing how every dollar spent in your business impacts revenue, profit, and cash is so important. Knowing how profitable each line of business is, and remembering that cash and debt are changing, right? Cash and debt are changing, meaning, right, debt, as interest rates go up, the cost of your debt is going up, right? If you need to take money out, it's costing you a lot more to borrow money. With cash, if you're able to hold on to cash and invest it in places, you can actually make money off that cash, right? Cash in your pocket is actually worth a little bit more now because of inflation than it normally is. So kind of knowing how that cash and debt are changing and knowing how your cash and debt in your business are changing, right? So on this big level, it's important, but also within your business, right? So knowing your cash to debt ratios, and these are all things we'll talk about in a little bit. But knowing also if it's cyclical, right? Because some of us are in these, cash is high during tax season, low during, the summers. If you're in gardening or anything that has to do with outside, right? And you live in a place that's seasonal, summer, spring, maybe even fall, cash is high. In the winter, not so high, right? So you need to kind of know how that changes and the patterns of that. And what I want you guys to remember as I'm going through this, I see people kind of jumping on and off, but don't panic. Remember, you do not have to be an expert at reading the financial statements or interpreting them, right? If you need help, get it. All right. So whether it's a CFO, maybe it's someone on your team, maybe you have an accountant in-house or a bookkeeper that is going to be able to not only print out and produce your balance sheet and your P&L and your cash flow, but maybe they are the ones that can help you interpret it and figure out what these numbers actually mean to your business. Again, if you're not new with me, you know that I am not a proponent of adding things to your task list as a business owner. My goal is to get every business owner here to be a true CEO, right? Meaning as a true CEO, your current list of 18 to-dos, right? Things you do in your business and on your business, whether it's marketing, doing sales, managing your teams, actually doing tax returns or actually doing the work, whatever it is, our goal is to get you from where you are to doing two things. A true CEO does two things in their business, has two responsibilities, and that's making big financial decisions based on information provided to them and leading your leadership team. All right, that is the end game for where you want to be as a CEO, you have two responsibilities in your business. So you know that if you've been around a while, I am not telling you to go put on your CFO hat and start being the own CFO of your business. Now, if you're smaller, if you're just starting out, you might have to do that. And we're going to do a great series in January for my smaller business owners. So if you're not quite to that seven-figure level where you're ready to hire a fractional CFO and you're ready to just make these decisions based off what someone else is giving to you, what the information they're providing for you, we'll go in January. We'll do some series on how to help you get from there to here. But for now, my goal is not to say, okay, here's another task. Go now start learn how to interpret your financial statements and figure out what those mean. No, you need to have someone doing that for you. Hire help if you need it. Your job is to understand the story so you can make smarter decisions. So you have someone preparing your financials, your bookkeeper or your accountant is preparing your financials, able to present them, and you have somebody, whether it's in your, in-house or out of house, that is able to interpret that data and tell you what it means. All right. They're able to tell you, hey, this revenue segment is making a 10%, it's operating at a 10% profit margin. This one is operating at a 20% profit margin. And then you as the CEO go, okay, so let's talk about that. Like, why is this one so much more successful? How do we, leverage that more? How do we get more, or how do we make this segment look more like that segment? That's where you come in as a CEO, right? To take the information that's given to you and start understanding the story behind your business and how to make those smarter decisions. It is not your job to create or interpret the financial data. All right. Someone should be doing that for you and helping you with that. All right. So we know we have to look at the numbers. We now know what numbers we're looking at. Another report that I love is projections. Okay. And this is not something you just go in QuickBooks and click projection like you can balance sheet or P&L, right? This is something that you can create in QuickBooks. I don't know about Xero or any of the other softwares. I know you can create projections, but this is something you want whoever your accounting guru on your team is to do for you. Because projections, you guys, are the number one tool for ensuring and steering your business back on track or keeping it on the right track. Okay, so if you do not have projections, which I'm confident that there's a huge percentage of you out there that are like, what is a projection? Or I've heard of it, I don't use those. So if you do not have projections, right? So let me start. What is a projection, right? Projection is a forecast. It is an outlook of what you anticipate, your business anticipates the next 3, 6, 12 months is going to look like based on current, like how your business is operating now, based on how, decisions you're making or changes you may or may not be making in your business, based on the outside market and economy. So that projection says, okay, so you start with a projection that says, if we do nothing, if we just keep operating as is, this is what's going to happen over the next 12 months. All right. So for those of us that do not have projections, so we cannot see into the future, we cannot see what we anticipate doing in our business, we typically make decisions in one of two ways, right? There's some of us over on this side that we cross our fingers and we hope. All right. We cross our fingers and we hope that whatever we're doing works. We want to hire a person. Hopefully they're the right person. Hopefully it works. If we want to buy a new piece of machinery because we think it'll make our job easier. We think we'll be able to, make more revenue, but I don't know. We think that's what's going to happen, right? So we cross our fingers and we hope. And I've heard somewhere, hope is not a strategy, right? Hope is great, but it is not a business strategy. All right. The other group of us, when we are staring at a decision in our business to make, we look at it like a deer in headlights and we do nothing. We do nothing, which sometimes that is an answer. Sometimes when we have the data and we decide that the direction we're going is good, that's fine. We don't have to do anything. But deciding to stay on course is still a decision. It's still doing something. So but lots of us just tend to be like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to change. So let's just keep things the way they are. And if you were to use a projection, you might see that if you keep going the way you are, you're going to tank your business or you're going to lose money. So let's stop making decisions in these two ways, right? Let's stop crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. And let's stop, being a deer in headlights and just doing nothing. All right. Let's start using projections. Okay. So that we can actually see what our future looks like. All right. And again, just like I talked about I did say upstairs. Like I talked about before, you don't have to be the expert on projections either, right? Someone on your team, whether it's internal or external, should be able to create these projections for you. All right. It's awesome if it's the same person who is doing the interpretation, right, of your financials, so this is what I do, right? As a fractional CFO, I not only interpret your balance sheet and your P&L, but I also create projections so we can make these decisions based on what we see coming up. All right. So again, I just want to reiterate, you do not have to be the expert on all this, right? Somebody on your team should be. You're the expert on running a business, all right? Can't be an expert on the financials. Hire someone. And then the last bit, when we come to like what numbers are we looking at, is your taxes, right? Businesses are taxed on profit, essentially. I know I might have some accountants in here who are like, but there's, this exception and this adjustment. Yes, but in general, businesses are taxed on profit, right? We're not taxed on revenue. We're not, it's taxed on profit. So you have to know your taxes, or you have to know your profit in order to know your taxes. And projections allow you to be prepared for a tax bill, right? So within those projections, we can see that, okay, at the end of the year, we're anticipating 100 grand in profit, which means you're in the 24%, you're going to have a $24,000 tax bill. So we need to make sure we have the cash flow for that, right? Because that's another big thing that we tend to forget. When we're working on cash flows and we're working on, balancing the cash and making sure we have enough cash for operating expenses and to pay off our debt, we tend to forget as business owners, there's going to be a tax bill. All right. And that tax money, because the business is generating it, guys, you should be able to take the cash out of your business as a distribution if you're an S Corp or a partnership, or just take it out of your business if you're a Schedule C and pay your taxes with it. All right. You should be setting up your business so it's making enough money and it has enough cash to pay the tax bill that it creates. All right. So we talked about, we covered a lot, guys. We covered so much, but let's go over just a couple like quick little what mistakes tend to happen here. What kind of things do I have to give you? Like little pieces to end with. So big mistakes. I think I made this clear, but trying to be your own CFO. Okay. And I already said it. I'm going to say it again. CEOs ideally have two roles that we want to transform you into. You're right now doing 18 different things, 22 different things, 8 different things, whatever it is. We want to get you down to 2. Making big, important decisions that drive profit and leading your leadership team. All right. So I am not telling you to be your own CFO. I am telling you to find someone trusting to do these for you. All right. You hire the right people to do the work. They compile the data. They present it to you along with options, right? So they're not just saying, okay, this segment is doing this and this segment's doing that. They're also hopefully providing options for you. Like, hey, here's some things we can do to make this segment as profitable as this one. Or here's how we can utilize our machinery and our resources to drive this more profitable segment to do more work. All right. So your financial guru should be able to do this for you. And then you just have to ask the right questions and make the decisions. All right. And then, so my pro tip is schedule monthly time with your financials or with your CFO, or with your accountant, with whoever it is that you are trusting to be your accounting guru. Schedule monthly time with them. Okay. If it is not on your schedule, you're not going to do it. You're going to forget. All right. So I always end with an action item for you guys. So that is your action item for today. Put CFO time on your calendar right now. That's your monthly meeting with your accounting team. All right. And if you do not have an accounting guru, start figuring out how to get one, right? Again, is there someone on your team that you're like, you know what? They've been doing the accounting here forever. I think they've actually have a background, in whatever in corporate. Like, let me talk to them. Let me see if this is something you can do. And I think that's another resource that's on my list of things to make for you, is like how to find a good financial guru. Because I don't want to say CFO, because it doesn't have to be a fractional CFO. If you're in the 7-figure range, it should 100% be a fractional CFO. There is no reason that you should not be able to afford a fractional CFO. And honestly, I truth bomb here, $500,000. If you're in the $500,000 range, you should be able to hire a fractional CFO. Not me. It's probably not going to be me. I'm pricier than what a $500,000 business can afford, but you should be able to afford somebody. So I will actually put together kind of a checklist of how to find a CFO for your business. That's a good idea. Let me write that down real quick. Okay, CFO. But in the meantime, put a standing monthly appointment on your calendar. All right. And maybe in that first monthly appointment is when you're going to spend an hour trying to figure out who your CFO is going to be. All right. That said, if you are interested in working with me, I invite you to visit my website and book a discovery call with me. We are looking to add 2 new CFO clients by January 1st. And we're offering some really good bonuses to those who do sign on with us by January 1st. That said, if you are not, right, like you're like, I'm not there, but if you know someone, we can also, we'll do a referral bonus. Even if you're not a client of ours, we can give you a referral bonus for referring someone if they do sign on to our CFO as a CFO client. So check that out. I think I forgot to put the link in. I'm such an amateur. I think I forgot to put the link in the description, but I'll go back and do that when we're done. So thank you guys for joining me. Next week, we will go over the T in wealth, which is think investments over expenses. That's a fun one. So we will talk about that next week. And then we will take the week after Christmas off because I'll be traveling. And then we will talk about hunt for expenses, or hunt for investments, which is the H, the last piece of the wealth model, the very first Thursday of January. So a little bit, it's how the holidays always are, right? We have to adjust and pivot a little bit. But yes, I challenge you again, if this is your first time here, go back and check out the previous videos as well. Even if you guys aren't like this wealth model is designed for any business owner. You do not have to be a 7-figure business owner to utilize this wealth model. But it is money. It's going to help you scale your business faster and easier. So thank you guys for joining me. I will see you next week.